we will link together as one force, continuing to serve always. This is the Brotherhood Academy Radio Podcast.
Volunteer firefighters, Academy, fight for a dying breed. Brotherhood Academy Radio.
Welcome back to the Brotherhood Academy Radio Podcast. We are here with our entire team today. We have Paul Balentine.
Yep.
Nick Hamel.
Hello.
And myself, Nick Hilton. And let's start off with some announcements. What do you guys think?
Do it.
Chief Miller, Hamel, you heard about Chief Miller?
I have.
Paul and I talked about this last time. Chief Miller is all over the Instagrams.
Guys everywhere.
Yeah, he's got like 3 accounts on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and he's got a website, chiefmillerapparel.com. So check him out. He's nice enough to share all of my content anyway that I put on Instagram. And he's got a lot of really cool content. I mean, Jesus, he's got from fires, incidents, to training, to fire trucks, all that kind of good stuff. So check him out, Chief Miller.
He's kind of like a one-stop shop. For,
he is. He's like
social media, fire department stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to say the Walmart of social media because that would be wrong, but he is a
Like
one-stop. Target. Yeah. There you go. Next announcement is giveaways. We're doing the giveaway, April giveaway, and that is, Hamel, you tried out the Smith's Leather Bomb, right?
I did. I did it on my my favorite pair of brown Timberland shoes that I wear everywhere, and they were looking pretty tired. I think I sent you the before and after.
Yeah, you did. Pretty
they
impressive.
I'm actually wearing them today.
Oh, you are? Oh, yeah, look at that.
Oh, look at those. Those are fancy.
Yeah.
They look good.
I've bought like 5 pairs of shoes since I've had these, but I always go back. So.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I sent that picture to Shane Smith, who owns, with his wife. I shouldn't say he owns it, but he says his wife runs it, which I understand. It makes sense. And I sent that to him, and he was pretty impressed. So we're doing the giveaway. We're giving away 3 chances to win a tin of Smith's Leather Bomb and a sticker with the bar logo on it. So, and again, if you haven't seen the stickers, they're available online on the website for $3. We'll ship them to you, and you could have a chance to win one. So you're going to get a tin and a sticker, and you got to go to the Facebook page. So Brotherhood Academy Radio's Facebook page, find the post about the giveaway, tag 2 people in that post, and share that post, and make sure you like the page, and you're entered to win. So we're going to, I was thinking April 14th, Sunday, for the drawing. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So
It seems to be getting some shares and traction now.
Yeah, it is, definitely. So, and then after that, I've got a ton more cans, so maybe we can get some other people, other businesses and whatnot in to sweeten the next pot for the giveaway. So, another announcement I have is the email list on the website. Have you guys been getting the emails I'm putting out?
I am.
So they're working?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, cool. So join the email list. You're going to get exclusive stuff, updates on what's going on with the Brotherhood Academy Radio podcast and other good stuff. So that's free. Sign up on that on the website. And then also on the website, submit your fundraising ideas. We're looking for that. It's getting into fundraising season for a lot of places. So we're looking for some creativity and what works for you guys. And there's a form you can fill out on the website there. So that's all I have for announcements. So welcome back, Hamel. Welcome back, Paul.
Yep. Good to be here.
How about that annual meeting last night?
Well, I've been to rowdier ones, I can tell you that.
Usually they go like a half hour. I went an hour and a half last night.
Oh, good times.
I think it was by the time the annual meeting was over and the Chiefs part and then the monthly meeting, I think it was an hour and a half because it was we kicked right off at 1900 with the annual, and then
we were out of there at 9.
We were out of there at 9. It was 9. I think it was closer to 9:30 to be honest with you. So it was it was a long meeting, and people were getting tired of sitting there, and
it was comical.
Our president was not that pleased with the shenanigans that were going on in the meeting last night. And some of it I can't blame him for.
I can't blame him either. Oh, well, that's fine. So the topic today, and this is from Nick Hamel. I think it's a really good topic. Leadership for the firefighter and aspiring officer. So what was your goal with that?
So I think, one of the things that I've noticed in the podcast, not only the one I was on earlier, but also a lot of the others, is we talk at a real high level about a lot of the things that people can do
Right.
leadership-wise, right? And what does good leadership look like? What does bad leadership look like? But, if you're a younger firefighter, less experienced, someone who's aspiring to be an officer or maybe a new officer, what does that look like in real life? What's a real-life change you can make?
Sure.
At your level with what you have today,
Right, because anybody can be a leader.
Because anybody can affect change, right? There are formal leaders, guys who wear gold hardware on the uniform, and then there are informal leaders, and those could be, whether they're a subject matter expert in the firehouse or a senior guy or whatever. And I think that was kind of where I was going with that.
No, I like it because we need a lot of informal leaders.
Right.
And on all aspects of the fire ground and the fire service and the organization, or however your part is in the department, there needs to be, leaders. Okay, so yeah, my list that I came up with last night, I guess the number one thing is you can be a mentor, right?
Absolutely.
I think
Anybody can be a mentor.
Right. So it's funny, last night, I meant to talk to you about this last night, Paul, too. One of the newer guys came up to us, Chapman. He says, what would be really cool is if we had some sort of training package or welcoming package for new members so we know exactly what's going on, what to expect, what a 2.5 is, what an 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 is. So, because he said when he first got on, he was kind of just thrown out, hey, grab that 2.5 and bring it to the back porch. He's like, well, what the hell's a 2.5? So I kind of told him, I said, well, let's make a committee. Do you want to spearhead that? So,
yeah, it's a great opportunity for somebody that's brand new with less than 6 months on the fire department to make an impact and help somebody that's coming in behind him.
Right.
He's brand new himself and maybe doesn't know what he doesn't know yet, but he's in the Firefighter 1 and 2 class, and he's doing really well with the other 3 guys from York that are in there. And it's an opportunity that he can put his mark on the department with,
right.
In his probationary year.
Right.
Already, one of the things I do is, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, I give people a handout. I have 2 handouts that I have. One of them is the 4 ups. You guys ever heard of the 4 ups?
I have not.
The 4 ups was developed, I think it was by Captain Bob Pressler from the FDNY, I think is who takes credit for this. And I'll spare you reading the whole thing, but it's listen up, clean up, step up, and shut up.
I like it.
And I hand those out to the guys.
That pretty much sums it up.
Right,
and so it's there's a lot more to it than just those 4 categories. Like I said, I believe that Captain Pressler from FDNY gets the credit for that. I've handed that out to the probies for years. I have it in a file, and I make a copy of it, and I give it to them. And I have another one that's an inspirational quote, and I can't remember where it comes from, but I've had that for years too, and I hand that out as well. So those are 2 pieces of information that, they don't spell out how we do things specifically. It's a general fire service thing. Like, here's what you've gotten yourself into now that you've joined the fire service.
Yeah.
Stuff that you should be aware of.
And that's pretty good stuff. I mean, and we struggle with that at our place too, and we've actually had much the same discussion about, when a new person comes in, what do we give to them? And right now it's pretty much nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
But then, we've all been around so long that we forget what a new person wouldn't know.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No,
right?
no, it's good.
It's very true.
We just assume that they know that you have to, whatever, for us, it's, show up in your Class A on Memorial Day, show up at XYZ event, show up, on the association side for these fundraisers that are our, bread and butter as far as the association goes. And we get mad at them when they don't come, but we also don't take that minute to step back and go, hey, wait a minute, we didn't really explain to them that was a thing, right?
Exactly.
Because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
We've been doing
need
it
to
for so long.
Clear expectations is one of the strategies for success that we've identified with the podcast. And if they don't know that's your expectation, then, shame on you as the organization, as well as, shame on the young guys. But you can't put a lot of shame on them if they don't know that's what's expected.
Exactly. So, I mean, as officers, we're busy. We get a lot of other things we're worrying about. So as an aspiring officer or as a firefighter that wants to be a leader, this is a perfect opportunity because you may be a newer member that just more recently went through that introduction to the fire service and have that in your mind of what needs to be presented to the recruits. that's a perfect opportunity to be a mentor and to create some sort of package, a welcoming package. And what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a mentorship, but someone that the new people can follow around. And
Sure. Yeah, I think mentorship's a big
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah.
That's, another thing that I don't think many places do particularly well. I mean, and I don't know if that has to be formal mentors or informal mentors.
I think it could be personally any
Yeah.
senior member or a newer firefighter. It doesn't even really have to be a senior member. Look at Dan Chapman. You know what I mean? He's still learning a lot. He's got a lot to learn, but he's got the motivation to. I mean, he could very well be an instrumental part in that. It probably won't just take one person to, influence these new people coming in, but he could take a huge part. Like, hey, I'm kind of new too, and that'll make the new person a little bit more comfortable. And this is what I've learned so far. This is the department. This is the trucks. This is, these are the equipment. Here's the tones you want to listen to. Don't respond to these calls. Respond to those ones. Type of deal.
Yeah, and that's as you're forming those procedures in those welcoming packets. That's a perfect committee for a 1 to 5 guy to be on.
Oh,
right?
hell yeah.
Because they're
a lot
they're
closer
new enough
to it.
that they remember it.
They're a lot closer to it than we are.
Yeah, but they've also been around long enough to kind of know what's lacking and what
Right.
what should be in that. But that's
Right.
certainly something that we struggle with. It sounds like pretty much everyone struggles with.
Yeah.
How do you assimilate these new people who have no idea what the fire service is about
Into our culture.
into your organization?
Yeah,
So there's a hole in the market, you guys that want to be leaders, right there. So mentorship. The next thing I had on my list was be the first to step up. Leaders step up. Doesn't mean that you have to. I don't know where I'm going with that. I
Be
guess.
assertive.
Yeah, just be assertive. And
You don't have to have a red helmet or bugles to be
No, hell no.
a leader. It doesn't need to be necessarily a fire officer. It can come from anybody.
right, exactly. You may be by yourself on an incident for a little while, and you may need to make those quick decisions. Get your hands dirty, clean the trucks, clean the equipment, all that kind of stuff. If you
Leave your stuff better than when you found it. Your apparatus, your station, your equipment, the whole thing. Leave it better than when you found it.
Right, exactly.
And then that doesn't take that takes no experience,
No,
no
absolutely.
anything to do. And that's something that for me personally, I struggled with when I was a junior because I was pretty shy and, wasn't really into making waves. And, I'd sit back and kind of wait for someone to tell me, wait
Yeah.
for someone to tell you what to do or wait for
Right.
someone to tell you to jump on the truck. And
Yep.
then other guys would jump on the truck as juniors and I'd, be all mad because they got to go and I didn't. And then I finally realized that no one's going to do it for you. You have to put yourself out there, and you have to jump at the advantage.
Take the initiative.
Exactly, and don't be shy because we're all shy newbies at one point or another.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
pretty much, short of the families we have in there now, we're getting far more people in the door that are first generation firefighters. They didn't come from family in town or something like
Right,
that. They're
right.
typically not even from town.
Right.
That's been the majority of our new
Yeah.
people in the last 4 to 5 years has not been the multi-generational folks,
Exactly. So these guys don't know what to expect
they
or
don't.
what's expected of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So as a mentor, also, you can teach a new guys. Hey, this is what you want to do. Be the first to step up. Be the first to interviews. Remember, we did the oral boards
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
full time position, and we had a piece of trash laying on the floor. Just as you walk in the door, and not one of them picked it up. But you know who did pick it up before we even started the oral boards?
The fire chief.
The fire chief. I said,
Yeah.
no, put that back. So
Yeah.
yeah, we ran into that the other night. We had a dinner at our place. We had a bunch of a couple of the departments came over and they were cleaning up to do dishes, and the assistant chief's in the kitchen, doing dishes, and he's we need him in the meeting we were having, the content, and so I just kind of offhand in a good way, just said, hey, well, we got a group of juniors here,
Right.
and they didn't even have to be told at that point. All 5 of them stood up, went into the kitchen,
Right.
But I'm sure that no one's told them, hey, at dinners, you kind of take the lead cleaning up, or you're this or you're that. And,
Yeah.
when I was a junior, I came in with a bunch of guys that had grown up in the station, whose fathers were on, and
They knew
grandfathers
that
were
was
on.
the expectation.
And we knew, our job on Sunday morning was to get the coffee going and to clean up after dinners and this and that.
Yep.
This generation of guys, they don't have that context.
It's
you know?
and it's partly, I think it's maybe us to blame. I mean, we got
Oh, it's totally us to blame.
We're so used to doing it ourselves that we're forgetting that, we need to step aside
Yep.
and let these newer people.
We need to set
take
that
those roles.
expectation, but we have to
Right.
be clear about it with them too. It happened to us a couple of weeks ago. We were washing trucks after training, and the brand newest guy on the department was standing there with his hands in his pocket while there was the crew and the officer of the truck were washing it. And I said to the young firefighter on probation, it's not so good for a probationary firefighter to be standing there with his hands in his pocket while there's other guys washing the truck. And he sprung to life quickly, and then later thanked me for the direction.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're looking for.
And
It's a good way to measure, if they're going to make it or not, too, because anyone who's going to make it is going to get your hint and spring into action. If they just kind of stand there with a 100-yard stare, that's
it was a little more
probably
than
an indication they either need a lot more work or
Yes.
probably not going to fit. Yeah, this kid, I'm happy to say he got the hint and took the direction. Not that my hints are that subtle, because that's not.
No.
subtle is not one of your qualities.
That's not one of my areas of expertise, but I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's gonna be a good kid. I think I know who you're talking about. We won't mention his name, but I think he's gonna be a good dude. Yeah, definitely. And you're gonna know, like us as officers, looking at the new people coming in, we're gonna know who's gonna be a leader someday, probably 2 to 3 months in, based on your behavior and how you're contributing and how you're getting your hands dirty. Like, I can look at a couple of our guys that joined maybe a year or so ago, maybe a little less, and they're going to be officers someday. It's not going to be soon, but
some of them are showing strong potential.
Right, and that's, if you want to be an officer, you have to make that good impression right away as soon as you can. And if you have not done that and you've been on a few years, you got some catching up to do. Because I have learned that myself. It takes a lot of work to catch up when you've screwed up or you haven't been so motivated to, take action on a lot of things. You got a lot of catching up to do. So be the first to step up, get your hands dirty. The next thing I had was positive energy. Have positive energy, because
it's contagious.
It's very contagious.
It is, yeah.
Just like negativity is contagious.
Yeah, that's might be even more contagious as the negative energy.
Yeah. So people seeing that, that's noticed by the officers and by the recruits and the probationary people. If you're being positive and you're creating that positive energy within your organization, that's a huge leadership trait, and anybody can do that.
Yeah, you don't want to have a bunch of young guys looking on and you're trash talking the organization, because that's going to red flag them that maybe I'm in the wrong place and maybe I don't want to devote my time to a place that's going to spread negativity. So if we can go the extra mile to be positive and let these guys know that, hey, it may not be all sunshine and roses here, but we do the best we can, and we are fundamentally a good organization. Right.
And, officers want their newer officers and their aspiring officers to be on the same page and in step, like we talked about the last podcast. And if you're negative...
I'm sad I missed that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. It was a good one. We talked about you.
I heard.
Yeah. So if you're...
The guys loved all the Sobo loves.
Yes. We
well
deserved.
We love on you guys.
Yeah, definitely. But negative energy is going to make you look like you're not in step.
Certainly.
And it's particularly dangerous if you're newer, right? It's wrong at all levels,
right?
And it's toxic at all levels, but it's particularly toxic.
They're especially impressionable
when you have brand new guys,
yep.
Because if they're not long into the journey and already have a negative attitude, well, that's a huge red flag.
Oh yes,
that is.
Whereas people who are positive, who are trying to go the extra mile, who are assertive and stepping up, well, that's awesome, and they can lift a group of otherwise apathetic veterans, to their level fairly easily.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't require any rank, any years of service or anything. It's just having a good attitude.
Right. And people are going to like it.
Agreed.
People are going to follow you. They're going to flock to you. They're going to want that positive attitude. Next I had was attending classes and seminars. So outside classes, outside seminars, trade shows, whatever, attend those if you want to become a leader, because you're going to meet new people, you're going to network, you're going to learn new things, you're going to see how other agencies do things, and it's going to give you all that knowledge to bring back with you to your department.
So what we have to remember is that none of your fire departments exist in a vacuum. All of your fire departments are part of a larger network of fire departments that is a trade or an industry. And in any trade or industry, we have to be on top of the latest trends. And by going to classes and seminars and networking, you can realize that our fire department is not, we're not doing things in a vacuum. We're doing things along with the rest of the fire service. And I equate the fire service to a trade or an industry like being a plumber or an electrician, in that plumbers aren't plumbing in cast iron, and electricians aren't using knob and tube wiring anymore. They've had to stay up with their trade and stay up with their industry and be on top of the latest technology. The fire service is no different than that. There's new technology coming along every single day, and you need to be on top of that. By getting outside of your fire department, we are able to stay on top of tradition. I mean, stay on top of innovation and technology, and learning about what's new and wonderful out in our business. There's a lot of research that's happening, and it's that stuff is super important to stay up on.
Yeah, the last 5 to 10 years in the fire service has been maybe some of the most quickly evolving that I can remember. Now, granted, I only have 20 years around of context, but really, I mean, when you talk about the between building construction, fire attack, cancer prevention, and all the other things going on, we've seen huge shifts in the entire industry that in previous generations would have taken 30 years have changed in under 5. I mean, just look at the attitude towards things like salty gear and things, all that sort of stuff.
Huge cultural shift.
Huge. And, in 10 years ago, that was unfathomable. 10 years ago, the dirtier you were, the better. And now it's completely changed.
I did an Instagram live the other day kind of demoing the Smith's leather bomb, and I cleaned up my radio strap, which had never been cleaned before. And I said, this could also work on your leather helmet, maybe not penetrating it, but you could clean it. And then I caught myself, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't even care. This is what you should be doing. You should be cleaning your stuff. The saltiness isn't really cool anymore. Maybe I'll be the first one on our fire department to ever clean the leather helmet, but I might just do it. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But
some traditions die hard. That's one of them for me.
It's a work in progress.
I'm not saying I'm getting rid of my leather helmet.
Oh, no, that's good.
I'm cleaning it.
That's good.
Yeah, we just got them back about a year and a half ago. So
yeah, good for you guys. That's a huge step in the right direction for your department.
Yeah, that was needed. That's good. Yeah. So attend classes and seminars. Get to know people. See how other places are doing it.
The caveat there is you can't run back to your home fire station and say we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to. I went to a class this weekend and we need to do X, Y, Z. I mean, that's just not a
good catch on
maybe that. Not the good approach, but it can certainly be framed in the mindset of, hey guys, I went to such and such a class this weekend, and let's try this next time we're out grilling.
Well, it's all about the approach,
Right, yeah, definitely.
We've had guys that do that. They come back and they're like, oh, we should do it this way. Other places are doing it that way. Well, okay. Your approach needs to be a little bit different, on a training night. Okay, here's what I learned.
Exactly.
Let's try it.
Exactly. Or have you ever tried whatever? Because maybe they did try it. Maybe it was a thing that didn't work, So it's,
Yeah,
it's all about the presentation
all
and
the
delivery.
approach.
Right. And, I didn't have that on my list, but that's a good thing to add on that is your presentation and how you bring things up and how you communicate with other people.
We've had that in the past, and we've had members who their heart was in the right place. And honestly, a lot of the issues they brought up, they were right. Whether it was tactics or strategy or search and rescue or whatever. But their delivery was so god awful that they just lost all their credibility.
Right.
And ironically, years later, we're starting to implement most of those things anyway. but and they were right back then. But the way they presented it was just bad. You can't go in and tell a bunch of guys who, particularly in our department, where we're a pretty old department, I would say. I mean, we don't have an officer with less than 20 years experience. Our median experience range is that 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 15. So the guys have been around the block, and let's say we do things pretty well. So you can't come in and tell a bunch of guys like that you're doing this all wrong.
You've been doing it wrong all along.
Yeah, because how is that perceived? You're an idiot, right? All they're hearing, regardless of the merits of your argument, is you're an idiot.
Yeah,
and that's going to get you nowhere.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the approach with Type A personalities, because every one of us is a Type A personality. You come in and start telling us, you guys have been doing it wrong all this time. You're instantly the senior guys and the officers are gonna be defensive right off the bat. Like, hey, who the hell are you?
Exactly.
So
So, soften that up a bit, frame them in the phrase of a question, right? Just kind of, hey, have you tried this? What do you think of that? Could we try this maybe next time we're out?
Right.
And who knows, if it's a genuinely good idea and people try it kind of on their own, on their own timeline, so to speak.
Yeah.
You generally have a pretty good chance of them adopting.
Yeah. Don't expect the results right away.
Right.
They're not going to jump on board right away, and don't get discouraged when they don't.
No, but the officers also need to, that's a good time for us to mention that the officers need to be aware that, also that we don't exist in a vacuum, and that we need to be looking at all the things that we're doing and, evaluating all the things that we're doing for, is there a better way to do this? And, can we be improving our operations? So let's keep an open mind as officers that we understand that the approach needs to be there, but, because we're human too, and we're prone to being shut off if the approach is, or the delivery is less than satisfactory. But understand that, as officers, we have very talented firefighters that work for us, and they might have a solution that deserves some merit. So we need to keep it amongst us, decide amongst ourselves not to shut somebody down just because their approach sucked.
Right.
So,
Sure.
we like to be, encourage these guys to run with stuff and maybe help them to temper their approach so that they can be received by people even higher than us.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there, as we need to be cognizant of the fact that we can't be too stubborn ourselves to at least give a good idea, a good looking over.
Yeah. And when you get promoted, don't forget where you came from, and don't forget the things that you tried to do yourself. And looking back on my early years, there was a lot of things that I wanted to implement that didn't quite work, and maybe my approach wasn't quite right. So don't forget where you came from, and try to remember where this newer guy is coming from when they're trying to bring something up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So learn from your mistakes. If you want to be a leader, learn from your mistakes.
Admit and learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
How do you think I got to be so smart?
There's a lot of truth to that.
I'm not even gonna. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've
seriously,
made some mistakes.
Seriously,
in the past.
though,
We really
that's I like to think of myself as pretty smart, but I've screwed up plenty of stuff in the firehouse and on the fire ground.
Yeah,
so.
but if you've never made a mistake on a call, you've never led on a call.
Yeah,
Right.
that's for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Nobody's perfect, from the
Yeah.
chief down to the
Yeah.
lowliest,
Absolutely.
newest guy.
We've
Anyone
all-
who walks around and says they're perfect and hurls criticisms for people making decisions and not making the right ones has never been in that position.
Nope, they never have.
Right.
You will make mistakes. We all have, and
Yep.
some of them make good stories afterwards. And with any kind of luck, your mistake doesn't get anybody killed, which mine never have. But
Yeah,
know.
and when you or the people you are with, if you say you're in a crew, makes a mistake as a team, be the first to take ownership of that mistake. If you want to be
Absolutely.
a leader, own it.
yeah,
Don't be passing blame onto other people. That's just going to make you look. You're not going to be a good officer if you're going to be
that's
passing blame.
the
So,
quickest way to lose your guy's trust is when you throw him under the bus.
Right.
Oh, look at that guy! He threw us under the bus to make him look good.
Right.
That's
And not only that, they notice if you throw somebody else under the bus too.
Oh, of course.
Everyone notices.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I kind of bang that up. And
Right.
let's
Right.
Learn from it, figure it out,
Yeah.
and talk through it.
Well, what can we do different next time, guys?
That's a perfect question, right? It's
Absolutely.
I think the most important thing, though, for anybody that wants to be a leader and anybody who already is a leader and wants to be a better leader is you need to learn to lead yourself first, because you cannot lead anybody else until you can lead yourself first.
absolutely that's
Very true.
100% true.
Very true.
And that kind of, when you ask the question, what does leadership look like at the firefighter level or the aspiring officer level, is, know your stuff. Mm-hmm. Know your stuff, do your stuff well, and show others how to do their stuff, and be a proactive member of the team. You're already, 60% there, right?
Right.
The rest of it is learning the tact to
Be a leader.
be a leader,
to direct
get your
others.
ideas in, direct others.
Right.
And, if you had to sum it up in the one, phrase, it'd be to be first, right? Be
Yeah.
the first one pulling a line. Be the first one at drill
Yep.
night.
Yep.
Be the first
Yeah.
one washing the truck, cleaning the floors,
Yeah. Taking out the garbage,
show
making-
initiative. And that's,
showing pride in your job,
I mean, at our place, we're huge on pride, right? We're huge. I mean, if we drive the truck out of the station and it's raining and they just go around the block and come back, the guys wash the truck. I mean, that's just the way it is. 3 a.m, 3 p.m, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And,
Should be, yeah.
We don't ask, we don't tell. It just happens.
Yeah.
And we notice, if you have newer members, who's out there doing it and who's not, because usually it's from the chief on down. We're all pitching in to get it done so we can all go home, right? Because no one really wants to be washing fire trucks at 3 a.m, but we do
I
it.
know, but it's part of the job.
It's part of the job,
We take
and-
the good with the bad.
And the
Right.
quicker you get it done, the quicker you get to go home. So
And the more hands that are in doing it, the quicker it's going to get
Many
done.
hands make light work. I've seen pictures of your assistant chief out there washing trucks in the middle of the night.
yeah, it's
So-
not uncommon. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
absolutely.
thing. That's why you guys have what you have, is because your assistant chief or your chief officers aren't afraid to do the job along with the guys. They're not too good for any job, and none of us lieutenants, captains alike, should be too good for any job either. I took the trash out at the firehouse last night.
Well, I mean, it's
Doesn't
little
bother
things.
me.
It's little things. I mean, how can we, as individuals, better ourselves and take care of ourselves first? And to me, my thought is it's the little things. Like, for example, when I use the restroom at the firehouse and I wash my hands and I take the paper towel and I look in the garbage can that's underneath the sink, if it's empty, if that garbage can is empty, I'm going to carry that paper towel out to the bays where the full garbage can is, right?
Yeah, make it easy for the guy later.
As simple
Yeah.
as that is, that's how you can condition yourself to be more disciplined and to lead yourself so that you can lead others, is the little
you're bringing
small
your
things.
bathroom germs out to the general.
Oh, no.
population.
Those are clean hands. That's after I clean my hands. Yes, I'm not bringing my toilet paper out. The toilet paper goes in the toilet, so...
Self-discipline is doing a job, seeing a job that needs to be done and jumping right on it.
Exactly.
Self-discipline is something we look for in a member. Somebody that's a self-starter, not afraid to jump in and get their hands dirty.
Yep.
And that's the simplest form of leadership, is just walking into the station, seeing the truck's dirty, and jumping in and starting to wash it.
Yeah.
And with any kind of luck, the other members, if there are other members hanging around, will jump in and help you out. You shouldn't be standing there watching
Shouldn't
people
be.
work.
You shouldn't be.
And that's we focused a lot on what things you can do back at the firehouse or not during calls, on calls. And this kind of goes back to last week when you guys were talking about being in step. We expect the guys to get off the truck dressed, tools, ready to go, no
Yes.
matter what.
Yes.
And the number one way for a guy on a call, a new guy, to put himself at the front of the line is to get off the truck ready to go, and for us to not have to tell you what to do.
Right.
Because I would echo all of your sentiments from last week. We don't want to be telling people to, get the thermal imager, pull out the gas meter, blah, 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 blah. We expect
do it.
the truck's going to roll up with 6 guys on it, and they're just going to show up at the door ready to go.
And in situations like ours, Paul, where a lot of us are coming in our personal vehicles, do not walk by a fire truck without grabbing a tool and an air pack and seeing maybe what the driver officer may need before you go any further towards the scene. You know?
Yep.
So we're not all getting off the truck. You guys have that benefit where you're
Right.
getting
Yeah, guys are coming on the
7
apparatus.
guys on a freaking truck. My God. But
We call that hashtag Sobo problems.
there you go. Yeah.
we don't have enough seats on the truck. We had a discussion last week about should we get a second set of passport tags?
Oh,
'Cause we
yeah, right.
Show up with 2 crews,
Yeah.
and they always get busted up,
Yeah.
or there's
Yeah.
not enough Velcro on the thing. To,
You know what you do?
And we were like, no one really has this issue.
Well, what we do, we sometimes when we go out of town, we'll get enough to split the crews
Yeah,
up.
if we have 6 on the rig when we're going out of town, we do the same thing. Usually there'll be an officer in the back and an officer in the
Right.
front, and we'll just split the crew up.
And our officers, all us officers, have our own passports.
Oh, so maybe it's something we need to look
Yeah.
at.
So because
Or
we
we'll take like there's 2, but typically we try to hold on to one. But we might
Yeah.
we might split them up that way
Right.
because especially going out of town. In town we know what our guys are up to, but
Sure.
out of town we understand it can be. We're essentially showing up 2 engine companies.
Yeah.
And it can be a little unwieldy if all 7 guys are on one tag, but they're really split into different operations.
Right. Yeah.
sure.
So I mean, maybe
Yeah,
that's
for
something
sure.
you could look. Tell Joe to look into is, get every officer their own tag with their radio number, or however you want to label it, And
we do that because of our showing up via POV. Like a lot of times I'm not going to the truck at all because I have everything I need.
yeah, he has his
already.
own air pack, nerd.
I'm a nerd that way, but
Yeah,
I
maybe.
just want to get in the building that much quicker. That's my thing. So we carry our own passports. It makes it a little easier. We can, do that on the scene or whatever. And
So that does bring up a good point. So when this is probably 5 or 10 years ago, we were having a problem with guys getting off the truck ready for calls, right? And us as senior, I think back then I was maybe a crew chief. We were noticing it. The guys were noticing it, and guys would get off the truck undressed or get off the truck half dressed, or because let's face it, 80% of the alarm and fire calls we go through are nothing, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of had mentioned it to the chief, but he just kind of blew it off. He most of the time didn't even want the truck out of the station. So we took it upon ourselves as like middle leadership to make that change and to drive it home. And it took a little bit of time, but we were able to get to the point where everyone gets off the truck dressed with tools, with air packs, ready to go until you're told otherwise.
Right.
And then we ran into it again, maybe a couple years later, where we were kind of sensing the same thing as a smaller group of middle leaders to run the card, right? Because we have the alarm card of what truck goes when to what.
Yep.
And we had run into this rut where we'd send the first truck out the door, or we might even wait because our chiefs go direct to the scene, or like I might go direct to the scene if it's in my part of town.
Sure.
They would wait at the station until the chief told them they needed the truck. And it was like, no, that's not how this works. Get in, get on the truck, run all of the trucks until you're told to go back.
Yeah. Nothing annoys me more than someone at the station calling command. Do you want the engine or the ladder?
No,
Is it on the card? Yeah.
Yeah, get in it and go.
Come until I tell you not to.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a huge operational change that we just kind of did as middle management on our own, because the chief would just assume the truck stay in the station,
Right.
and it actually helped attendance because guys, those second, most of our guys are within a mile or two of the station, but those tier 2 guys, the guys that are 2 to 5 miles out, were never getting on the truck and subsequently not coming down.
Right.
Yeah, they lose interest that way.
So getting the second and third trucks on the air gets them coming down. It fills the gap when the inside guys aren't around, and all in all, just makes a quicker, more complete response.
Right. And
Again, that was no direction from the chief's office. We took that upon
You
ourselves.
took the initiative.
and that's happening.
Self-starters.
That still happens today, 10 years later.
Right. Just be cautious doing that. If you're not an officer, but you should be a self-starter, but use some caution. You don't want to go against the common goal and stay, get out of step. But you should be taking that initiative. If you see a hole in leadership where there's a spot that needs some leadership that's not being filled, fill it, do it, take ownership of it.
And that's some discretion, right? It's not, hey, you should run all the trucks. It's, hey, why don't we take the trucks? Because the card says you should take engine 1, ladder 2, engine 4.
Right.
Why don't we never take the other 2 trucks, right? Not, we need to do this. It's on the card, blah, 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 blah. That will get you nowhere in life. Yelling gets you nowhere.
No, it does not. Absolutely not.
That's true.
So, wow, what a good topic. What a good topic. Do you have anything else, Hamel? Because I have a question pending.
I think we covered it.
I think so, too.
Yeah. So I guess, to sum it up is be active, be prompt, be assertive. Do everything you can for yourself first, Make sure you
know your job.
Know your job, do your job,
Yep.
and the rest will kind of fall into place.
Yeah, it will. It will. As for me, as for you, and as for you. As for all of us.
Know your job as a firefighter before you start trying to be an officer and bossing people around.
Right. And that goes
you gotta
along
be
with
good
taking
at
care of yourself first.
Good at your job as basic firefighter skills before you can be comfortable with being a boss.
I couldn't have been prouder. A couple weeks ago, we had a car accident with entrapment, and it was one of those situations like we just talked about, right? Like I was first on scene, called back to the engine, told me, yeah, we did have entrapment. And the guys just showed up and did it. I didn't have to say a word, Next thing I know, I look up and there's guys with cribbing, there's guys with tools, there's guys with hearse tools, we didn't have to say anything to each other. We just showed up and did it.
That's being in step.
Newer guys set up lighting, it's just crazy. It's,
It's so awesome.
when that's going like that, when your operations are flowing like that,
You're in step.
there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, it's great. You're in step. I love to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is good. I have a question, guys. So we're gonna, and Hamel and I talked about it. Did we talk to Paul about this? How we want to institute maybe an Ask Us Anything episode at some point?
Yeah, I was part of that.
Q&A episode. I think.
Were you there for that?
Yeah, I was in the discussion for that.
Oh, okay. So let's start doing that. I don't know when we want to actually do the episode, but I mean, I can throw it up on social media, or one of us can, and just start fielding questions from people, because I think we get a really good response. I had a question from a junior firefighter by the name of Michael Annis from New Hampshire. Everybody know where New Hampshire is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I spend half my life there.
Right, no kidding. Maybe I should pull the question up here. So his question was, hi, my name is Michael. That's not the question. Hi,
Michael.
I am an explorer for a post in New Hampshire. I love your podcasts. Thank you. I was wondering, what was your first fire as a junior, and what was it like? Because we were all juniors or explorers, right? So, Hamel,
Yeah.
Hamel, what was your first fire?
Let's see. My first fire as a junior. I don't think I had my driver's license yet, so I was still riding my bike to the fire station, which I lived probably just under 2 miles away.
Ooh, that's a good ride.
Uphill. yeah, that was a pretty good ride. No, maybe like a mile and a half. Either way, it was a long ride, especially for a larger American. It was Chinese restaurant in town. There was a fire in the kitchen, and I was riding my bike, and I remember because I had to ride by it to get to the station, and there was like fire blowing across the street, and I was just like, "Oh, holy crap!"
Please tell me you had the red blinking lights that people put on the back, but you had them on the front. Please tell me.
No, I didn't. And
Did you have the little siren thing with the mic? Remember that as a kid?
I didn't have that either.
Yeah.
My kid has that on his Power Wheels now. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it ended up being a pretty good fire. Those days we really couldn't do much as juniors, but we showed up, we helped. It helped to just be there to kind of see how things worked. And again, I didn't come from a fire department background in my family, so it was all new to me at that point. Where if you were like my kids now, they've gone to calls. They've certainly, Paul, your kids have gone to calls.
No.
Yeah, they've been
Gone
a couple
interior.
Oh God.
Just being around, being present, stepping up to do any job that was asked of me. So I ended up in doing some overhaul and
Nice.
other stuff. So yeah, it was,
Awesome. Paul?
I will never forget this fire. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of fires in the almost 25 years since this happened. And so on a November night, I was out of town and the guys had a fire, and I missed the fire. I was pretty upset about it. And
I can't imagine that.
yeah, I was pretty upset because I had been a fire explorer for like 3 months, not quite even 3 months, and I hadn't been to a fire yet, and I missed this one. So my father got home from the fire, and he was telling me about it, and that one of the other explorers had been there and was able to get in and do overhaul, which was like the ultimate salt in the wound for me. So I was really bumming about it. And it wasn't 15 minutes later they toned out for another fire at that location. The fire wasn't in our district, but the first arriving company requested that they retone for a working fire, that the fire was going better than it was the first time. So we were requested to go back to the fire. I believe it was mutual aid at the time.
Right.
And so on the way down the road, my father's like, get in the truck, let's go. So we're going down the road, and there was a glow in the sky. And I remember there being a glow in the sky, and being 14 years old, I was pretty pumped about that. We got on scene, and it was in a non-hydrant area. So I was setting up a porta tank, and then we went over to changing bottles. And because of the amount of fire on the second fire of the night, there wasn't really any opportunity to get inside and do some overhaul, so I got gypped out of doing that. But I'll never forget setting up porta tanks and helping setting up water supply and changing air bottles and running tools for guys or whatever. And
maybe if you were there for the overhaul for the first fire, there wouldn't have been a second fire.
Well, you never know. I mean, it was 1995, so it was a long time ago now, almost 24, 25 years ago now. So
some tells me that was arson. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That was going way too good to be rekindled the second time.
We have it on video, but I don't know. It was going really well the second time for sure. Yeah. So won't name any towns, won't name any names, won't pass any judgment, but it was going pretty good the second time.
Yep, it was. So I remember that. I was a kid. I was with my dad, did the videoing the first one. And then I was sleeping through the second one. So I guess that balances that one.
So I'll never forget that night. And I was in the 8th grade at York Middle School, and I was pretty tired the next day. And on the way to school, my father drove me to school the next day. And he was pretty quiet on the way to school. And we got about halfway to the school, and he was like, "You are the luckiest kid I know. If that had ever happened to me, I would have missed it straight up, and that would have been that. I can't believe you got to go to the second fire." And he was shaking his head all the way to school.
Jesus. In the happy bus, right?
Yeah, no, he in his work car when he was commuting.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so anyway.
Well, mine, I don't really remember mine. Because, see, I was an explorer down in Florida on a fire department. It was a full-time career fire department down there. And then I was also an explorer, I'm going to call it part-time in York because product of a divorce, you live in two different places. So, obviously, as a kid, living in York, growing up in York, I went to a ton of fires as a kid. So everything kind of blurs in. But I want to say my very first fire as an explorer working at it, not taking pictures or videos like I did with my father, was one in Florida after a few years of being on, because in Florida, all you do are car accidents and medical calls down there.
It is God's waiting room.
Right.
I took the words right out of my mouth.
We had a good opportunity down there, though, being a career department, is we could do ride-alongs. So we pick a shift and we ride along. I typically rode we had 3 stations. Actually, 4 stations. One of them only had an ambulance in it, so I don't know if that counts. But
Yuck. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yuck.
It's not like that anymore. Actually, a lot has changed in the past 18 years. But so I was riding at Station 12 on Engine 12. We were having our dinner, and we got a report of a structure fire. And I can remember it was right on the border of the district of District 12 and 13. And 13 was a county truck, and 12 was a city truck. And we were coming in, and it was in an apartment complex, and you could see the column of smoke. And Engine 13 got in just before us, and I can remember the guys were hooting and hawing about that. But I got to open the hydrant.
Cool.
It was pretty neat. It was awesome.
That's a pretty important job.
Yeah.
For a young explorer type kid to still be opening the hydrant. I mean, that's a pivotal spot. I mean, one screw up with that, and you're going to shut the whole operation down.
And to me, I thought that was kind of a big deal, because as a kid, and here's a city paid department, with a fire, and I got to get the water to the trucks. So.
Did you dress it too, or just open it?
I don't remember. I think I did.
I don't remember fires from like last year.
Yeah,
20 years ago.
All I remember, I do have it's funny because I was looking through my old photos and I scanned it in. I do have a photo of actually responding to that. You don't see the smoke or anything, but you could see the guy driving, Daryl Coates driving Engine 12. He appreciated that when I posted that photo, because it was a classic. But yeah, so that was my first fire that I can remember.
Huh. Wow.
I think. So, all right, well, that's where we're at. Ask us anything. Send us some messages on Facebook through the Messenger, or just post it right on the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, please join that, because that's where we can start doing a lot of interaction and engagement. So,
and it seems like we're getting a lot of positive feedback, both in private message and in comments. So keep it coming.
Definitely.
Show us the love.
Oh, yes, we love it. We love the attention. No. So anyway, that's
that.
Yeah. It all depends. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so that's where we're at, and thank you everybody for listening and taking the time. Time is precious. Time is valuable. Thank you for taking that time, and then Paul and Nick also, thank you for taking your time to sit here today and talk.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Always glad to be here.
Bye-bye. Oh, it is awesome being here. It is.
I know.
Especially in my basement where it's really cold.
Yeah, you need to step up your studio game. I think National Fire Radio has you guys beat.
I know,
need
I
some
know.
helmets on the wall. Game wall boxes
I got one
on
right
the
there.
wall that needs to be hooked up to a
It's
tapper.
a lamp, though.
Bar.
We can still hook that into
Yes.
the punch register.
It's in your screen name. Bar.
I
Eat
know,
a bar.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
We've yet to do an episode drinking beer either.
Yeah.
These are the days I long for the saloon to be back.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
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 They'd have like a daily podcast at that point.
That'd have been awesome, huh?
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
Where-
we could probably go use it. He probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Let's go knock on his door. All right.
Many good memories there.
See you at the next one, guys.
Friends, please join the movement by sharing this podcast and sharing our social media accounts and visiting us at brotherhoodacademyradio.com.
Brotherhood Academy Radio podcast is brought to you by Salty Hook Media.